Yes, my brothers and my sisters, your brother from another mother is making his long journey and long process of everything I've been through, everything I've worked through, and I will be delivering it to you for your healing and freedom journey. Wherever you are in the world, I'm looking forward to sharing with you, answering your questions, all things mental, emotional, relationship health, but specifically, it's about this thing called relationship OCD. And for some of you feel like you're drowning in it, I want to bring some insight to help you along the way to be a brother from another mother so that you can have some hope, some tools, and some renewed perspectives. If I can walk through this, seriously, anybody can. You just got to be open to some teachings, humble yourself for some new perspectives, and be willing to do the work of the heart. Welcome, everyone, to today's broadcast. Mark DeJesus here, your brother from another mother, bringing you insights along the way. I am all about mental, emotional, and relationship health, and if you are too, you've arrived at a fantastic place. I'm going to be getting into some questions regarding relationship OCD, but do me a favor. Click that like button, click the subscribe button, go over to markdejesus.com, and you'll find more materials, more insights, more topic-based broadcasts for your healing and freedom journey about all kinds of areas. Now, for this broadcast, I'm going to recommend everyone make sure that you take the opportunity to go through the materials. They're all free at no cost to you. Many broadcasts, tons of Q&As. I've addressed many topics that those of you that are new may not have seen. If you go to markdejesus.com/OCD help, there's also a link there that you see on that slide where you can submit questions as well too. So the second thing I want to recommend to you is my book, The OCD Healing Journey. If you find yourself where you recognize you have OCD and it's impacting any area of your life, I recommend this book. I recommend the insights in it. Take the journey. Take the steps. Many of us want quick fixes. We want something to just quickly rescue us and get us out of this mess that we find ourselves in. And I want to advocate for you to embrace a journey mindset. You didn't get here overnight. And so it's going to take some time for you to learn new patterns and new steps to walk into for your healing and freedom journey. So welcome those of you that are in the chat. Welcome those of you that are both in YouTube and in Rumble as well too. We'll keep an eye. Now, typically, this is a solo episode, but I do have alongside with me here the love of my life, all that I cling to. She means more than this world to me. Melissa DeJesus is in the house. Welcome, my love.
Thank you. And Levi is here too. He's sleeping.
Oh.
He's in a little ball over there.
I didn't even see him over there.
He's so cute. Of course he had to follow me. He can't be away from me.
Well, he needs some deliverance from...
I feel like I look really little today. I'm sitting up straight too. Maybe not.
You look lovely, my darling.
I'm cozy. That's all that matters.
But posture is important, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm not wearing my brace today.
Oh, you're not?
No, I probably should have put it on.
I know.
It would help me to be a little bit better with my posture. All right,
I'll be leaving though at 3:15 if you're still live.
Yeah, and I probably
will get my baby girl.
I probably will be, knowing me.
That's true.
But Melissa will be keeping track.
I'll keep an eye
of the chat. Mm-hmm. I did notice, and there was some confusion in Rumble. Mm-hmm. Let me just address that real quick, because yes, in Rumble, if you look up my name, you do see what looks like two accounts. Mm-hmm. It's a strange thing because it's the way Rumble arranges it, where they're like, here's your personal account and here's your broadcast account. So when I upload lives and upload content, it's like, which one do you want to pick? And at first, I think at first it was sending it to just my regular profile, and then it kind of realized that I was wanting to be someone who broadcasts on a regular basis. I'm still trying to figure out Rumble, to be honest.
It's not easy.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy. So bear with us and be patient with us on that. So I know, and I just wanted to clear that up in the checks.
Excellent.
Yes. Be sure to check out my page, markdejesus.com/questions, where you can check out where you can go there and submit questions. And what I did was I took a whole bunch of the relationship OCD related ones and saved them for today. And a couple things I want to let you know about too is that, number one, I'm actually working on a book specifically on relationship OCD. It was a very specific area that I had to work through and navigate through. And I'd like to share a little bit more about that now. In the OCD Healing Journey book, there is a chapter dedicated to talking about that, but I really felt I wanted to expand it a bit more and down the road probably get into some more teachings that flow out of things I've observed both in myself, my journey, and in many of the people that I help, because OCD has a pattern to it and it repeats over and over and over again. It has all kinds of language to it, to the point that I could see it from a mile away. I feel like I can read 2 sentences into a question and detect it. So I want to let you know about that. Also, many of you in your relationship OCD patterns, you want to just get free, you want to feel better, and I want to give you a strong exhortation. You're going to need to embrace a journey. You're going to need to embrace some teaching. You may think right now that you just have relationship OCD. And the thing you're going to need to realize over time is the reason it's that is because that has center stage attention. You only have the ability to really think about one thing at a time. And when one thing becomes an alarm situation, you pay attention to that a lot. But people find over time, oh, I'm doing better in that. Another one shows up, another one shows up. I don't say that to your fear. I say that to your need for equipping, because you're going to need to embrace a process and journey of how you deal with your thoughts, how you relate to your thoughts. And specifically, and we get into relationships, how you deal with your relationship world and how you feel safe and how you make decisions in your life. So with that in mind, I will invite you, if you feel like, you know what, I'm one of those people that recognizes I'm on a journey with that, check out the Healing and Freedom community. It's a subscription-based. It's an investment. And I make it that way because I want people that are going to be serious about this, because I've dedicated a year and a half of my work to putting together an extended training course that goes deeper. I also host question Q&As. I'm going to be hosting one tomorrow. And actually, I'm going to be, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing one every week. The recordings of those Q&As get posted, and there's interaction as well, too. And so there's many in the community that battle with relationship OCD. They're working on it, working through it. And so I want to encourage you down a pathway and a journey, because we have to get through this rescue me mindset, this 911 kind of mindset. So want to let you know about that. Also, I want to give you some feedback of what are some of the relationship OCD hangups that I see. And before I get into the questions, I want to just go over some of those hangups that people have and people work through and they need to work through, rather. And I have, 6 or 7 of them. I just jotted down just before I click the live button here to talk with you all today. Here's some hangups you need to be aware of if you have relationship obsessive-compulsive kind of patterns. And of course, I have 4. Is this number 5, right? Number 5. I have 4 Q&As that I've done specifically that are before this. You can check those out. In fact, I believe they're linked in the notes section, in the show notes section of the video. You can click on those and save them to watch at another time. Here's some of the hangups. The first and foremost one I need to repeat over and over and over and over again. With ROCD, all roads of your disturbances, whatever it is, all your what ifs, your yeah, but what ifs, or what about this and that, this scripture, everything is going to lead back to your disturbance obsession. So if you feel anxious, if you feel depressed, if you feel uncertain, it's all going to want to go back to this primary distortion, this obsession that goes something like, maybe I'm with the wrong person. I think I'm with the wrong person. This isn't the one God has for me. I'm not with the one that is just right for me. And so you have to recognize that. You'll travel down this path, it'll go back to that. So you'll interpret scripture, you'll read something, and if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Oh, I need to break off because this person isn't right for me. You need to take up your cross, deny yourself, and follow me. That's it. I need to sacrifice all. That means I need to break up my relationship. Whatever. You read, you'll watch a movie, and movies do this all the time. all the time. Movies and TV shows constantly portray things that feed a obsessive-compulsive kind of perspective with relationships, whether it's Runaway Bride or just that portrayal of, I don't feel that thing, this really right thing, or at the very last minute, Prince Charming just showed up and I felt that feeling I've always wanted to feel, and I ran off and we lived happily ever after. So you'll watch certain things where somebody breaks up and then it triggers you. Oh, it's triggering me, right? Or you'll listen to a sermon and they'll give dating advice and they'll say, you know what, here's some red flags you need to watch out for. You know, you make sure that, that you're spiritually compatible, and you're like, yeah, I gotta make sure. And then you hyper analyze and pick out every little flaw. While it's good to look at, are we on the same page? I think that's helpful. I think that's fruitful. But you have to remember, OCD takes subjects and distorts them. And so you have to recognize, I've got a distortion in my field of view, in my perspective, that is going to cause me to not see things the way that they are. Second, hang up that I see is that when somebody has this problem, quite often, the relationship will often sit in this limbo where it's a non-decisive, non-committal, I'm trying to figure this out. And it stays in that limbo for a extended amount of time. So the relationship starts to lag a little bit, in the sense of you start to enter into some relational doldrums. And why? Because relationships are meant to progress. They're meant to grow. It's a natural way that God designed it. And so many sit in a perpetual non-committal state. And they start to feel more empty and they start to feel more depressed. So then they go back to their primary obsession, which is, I feel this way because I'm with the wrong person. It kind of just keeps this loop going. It keeps all the distortions going. You'll need to be aware of the distortions that all kick up. I teach on them, the 7 distortions that you'll need to be aware of. Another hang up, number 3, is the expectation of what you should feel. We live in a very addict-driven culture. We live in a culture that many cultures have experienced before in history, but one that is very sexually charged, one that is very addict, dopamine chasing charged. We're looking for something to give us this rush, to escape the emptiness, pain that we feel. So we look for that. We long for it. We want to live in that. And so while it's wonderful to have infatuation or to have a sense of being drawn to someone, that initial attraction, those kind of things that go on, but we look for a high to maintain us. And many of us obsessors are recognizing we have addict mentalities that are in our line of view and how we process things. So we feel we need to have that kind of thing constantly. And when we don't, which really oftentimes what's going on is we're empty, we're depressed, we're going through things emotionally in our life. And people will write to me and they're in some of the questions of, I just don't feel that excitement or enjoyment in the relationship. And many times the reality is you don't feel excitement and joy about a lot of things. It just happens to have a very intense focus on this thing needing to be fixed. But if you look around, you may have some emptiness and depression in a lot of areas. So we look for a very common thing that we do when we are low is we look for a high to get us out, instead of what love does, which love recalibrates us and stabilizes us. So our setup of expectation has been distorted. And many of us look for the examples that we see in life. Many of you look at your parents and say, you know what? I don't want anything that they have. It's not, maybe your parents looked just right, but you saw behind the scenes that it wasn't a flourishing marriage. Or maybe your parents divorced, maybe they never married, maybe there was abuse, maybe there was all kinds of stuff you look at, not necessarily a great example. Then you look at society, you see the divorce rate, you see what's going on, and that increases the fear. I was even listening yesterday to the news where commentators were talking about Tom Brady's famous football player and his ex-wife Giselle. How do you say her last name?
Bündchen.
Yeah.
I think.
What she said.
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Say it again.
I said, I'm just guessing.
Bunchen.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry, babe. I think it's Bunchen.
Okay. Bunchen. Anyway, she's in her 40s, has some 35-year-old guy, whatever. And people are commenting on it. And I was just listening to them kind of all giving their opinions about this and her kids. Is that fair to her kids that she had with Tom? And he had a kid before he had a kid with her and this and that. So I found it interesting. One of the guys who was commenting, he's single. And he says, many of us are looking and we're going, these are two people that have it all. They have money, they have fame, they have success. They're both beautiful. He's handsome, she's gorgeous. And if they couldn't make it, what hope is there for us? And I said, what an interesting interpretation that we look to people that are famous, have money, have beauty as leaders and examples, when actually Hollywood has the worst relationship fruit in existence on the planet. They have, when it comes to Hollywood, music industry, the TV industry, the just influencer arena, they have the worst stats of long-term successful love relationships because they perpetuate a addict mentality based on lust that doesn't know how to be grounded in the power of love. So many of you in your journey, you're needing a recalibration on what love is, what it looks like. Good news is your brother from another mother has a lot of materials on that. You can go over to my topics page. See that button at the top there says topics. You can click on that and go to the love section where I do have a series on what is love. You can check that out. And then I go deeper in what does love look like. And I break down 1 Corinthians 13. There's a lot of things that I get into there to help you in your processing. So that was number 3. Number 4 is then we get into comparison. We feel we should feel this way, and then we compare. And you look around and you look out and you see someone who seems excited about the relationship, and you go, I don't feel as excited as they do. That means there's something wrong with me. Comparison is a nasty trap for mental health in general, because whatever mental health battleground you have, you typically in your dark moments start to believe no one else has this battle that I have. I'm all alone in it. So people with salvation OCD stand in church and look around and go, all these people seem so confident about their salvation, and I'm not. And it creates this very dark, unhealthy comparison that then feeds the distortion of you feeling like you're the only one that battles with this. And we live in a day and age today that you don't need to feel like you're the only one that struggles with anything, because you can type in what you struggle with and you're going to find other people. In the 90s, I attributed what I battled with was a weird anxiety. There was a lot of shame and a lot of confusion. And then you add on to that, I was a pastor on staff at a church, so getting feedback was challenging. And then a lot of super spiritual answers don't help. Well, people are like, oh, if the Lord's not in it, he's just not you're not gonna feel peace. You need to go find the peace. And when God's in it, it just works out. We created a lot of these cliches that don't equip people to live as overcomers, don't equip people to deal with resistance. Christians, in my opinion, are ill-equipped to deal with emotions and deal with resistance in their life. We are not equipped to deal with the storms, the battles, the stuff that hit us. We end up drowning in it. And so a lot of our cliches don't help. Follow the peace, chase the peace. When ladies say when my husband to be walked in the room, I just knew in that moment. It's all these magical stories. It's great. It's fine. It's wonderful. Melissa and I have our own stories, right? But then people are like, well, I don't know if, do I have that? I need to have the same exact story. I need to have the same kind of thing. Instead of rooting people in the beauty of what love is, and honestly, a lot of marriages, they kind of fake it. They have a presentation they present. And it would probably benefit people if others knew you've had to actually work through a lot of things. Any married couple has had to work through a lot of things in their life. It doesn't say anything negative about their marriage. It's called life. It's called a journey. And what God is set up is in the covenant of marriage, we make a commitment, and then in that, it's time to grow. You actually grow up in marriage. You are called to grow in marriage like never before. When you're single, you have a lot of coping mechanisms you can just do. And there's nothing that brings a check to it to go, hey, you got to grow in this area. It just kind of feeds the patterns that you live in. So then parenting comes along, and there's a whole level of growth that takes place in your life. It's beautiful. It's awesome, but we don't always prepare people for it. Number 5 is a hang up I'm seeing a lot lately and we'll get into this in the questions. Is this OCD or is this something else? Is this OCD or is this something real? And what you need to understand when you have that kind of question, when OCD is infecting in your life, it's like a leaven that gets into the bread. It gets into everything. Now you may go, well, it's just affecting relationship right now. The person I'm dating. Yeah, it's in other areas. Trust me, it's not just there. And maybe I don't have that pathway. Well, I would say any Christian who has OCD, if you have relationship OCD, you also have scrupulosity, because there's ways that you're relating to God in your relationship that are distorted, that actually need some healing work. So you have to understand it distorts a lot of things, not just your relationship, but what it does is it takes subjects that sure we need to consider in our life. Is salvation important? Yes. Is hell an important subject? Sure. Is repentance an important subject? Yes. Is marrying the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with an important issue? Yes. The list can go on and on. It takes it though, and it distorts it. So now you can't see it soberly. You see it in a way that causes a lot of distorted compulsive activity. The biggest one is ruminating. Ruminating over how you feel about the relationship. Ruminating over the feeling of certainty over the relationship. Doing a lot of yeah, but what ifs, checking, maybe I like somebody else. Maybe I fit this person. Maybe this isn't the one God has for me. A lot of ruminating. Then there's reassurance seeking. Constant reassurance. You got to talk it out. You got to keep talking it out. You talk to your friends about it. You talk to the person you're dating about it. You got to have another conversation. Got to have another thing about here's what I'm going through. Here's what I need reassurance on. And so then that creates a embedding of that as a pattern. Or a classic one is the breaking up non-committal kind of thing, where you either break up or you do this kind of backing the relationship up. I got to see, we could do all these kind of excuses in it, right? I got to work on some things. That's a big one. Mark, should I wait and work on some issues before I step forward? You actually work on your issues in relationship. Proximity is what actually causes us to grow. It isn't like this, I'm going to go by myself and grow through how I relate to people and then relate to people. That's not how this works. It's like somebody sitting in a room and going, okay, I'm going to ride a bike. Ready? I'm going to work on riding a bike. Right? I don't know how to ride a bike. I'm going to ride a bike. Okay, I'm ready to ride a bike. No, it's like you go and you ride a bike. I don't know how to swim. I'm going to sit in this room. I'm going to think about how to swim. I'm just going to be with myself and God, and I'm going to learn how to swim. What do you do? You have to learn how to relate. Yeah, and you do that by practicing. And within this world of obsessiveness, there's a lot of distortions that need practice. Number 6, what I have, I had 5. 5 is OCD or something real. 6 is the need for external confirmation. I need God to tell me. I have people writing to me. I've been pleading with the Lord. I've been on the altar of the throne of grace. I have pleading with a very, very beautifully written. I have been an extended fasting and praying. I'm not making fun of fasting and praying, but I'm just bringing out how the expression. I need God to give me a signal, some kind of signal to tell me that this is what He wants. And God is not going to tell you, marry this person. Can I just lay that out there? God's not barking over your shoulder going, marry this person. He's not forcing you to marry somebody. And we keep asking Him, and that decision is yours to make. Now, hopefully, you'll have some good parameters in making a decision in who you marry. Right? Marry a believer. Number 1, marry someone who's a believer. This missionary dating, as we used to call it, it's just not recommended. too, is that as you grow together, that you have a sense of being on the same page as far as how you deal with things spiritually and in life. And that dating experience brings that all about. It helps you to get insight and understanding. But number 2 is very tricky for an obsessive because they nitpick and nitpick and nitpick and nitpick. They're not looking at discovery. They're not discovering the relationship. They're interrogating the relationship. You understand the difference? Discovery is you go and you learn as you go. An OCDer is interrogating the relationship. They've got the light shining. They've got the intense look. They're examining. They're looking at it. I've met with many of you this week, and you know what I'm talking about. So the thing about this need for confirmation is we're in avoidance of making our own decisions. We're in avoidance of just taking a step. We're avoidance of going, I need to live single-mindedly. We're in avoidance. I've heard some people say, oh, I wish I just lived in a world where there was arranged marriages and someone could just make this decision make a decision for me. Or God hasn't told me and I need him to tell me. Many avoidance, folks, like I said, comes about in avoiding anything triggering. Hearing stories or hearing about someone who is unsure or hearing that. You avoid, and I have a lot of avoiders in the world of what I do. They'll avoid my videos. I'll post a video and I will know there's a bunch of people that's just going to avoid this video simply because of the title. Because they go, I don't know, I don't want to feel a certain emotion. I want to feel a certain thing. And they don't realize, no, you need to be triggered. You need to be triggered so that you can actually walk through this. You need fear to knock at your door. So you go, it's time for me to rise up and face my fears and walk through this and learn how to walk in faith, hope, and love. I didn't know how to do that. I had no clue. So I just went with whatever fear told me and lived in that avoidance. I there's a classic one that I read to from people. This is one that is said, they're in such indecisiveness. They'll tell the person they're dating, you know what? I wonder if I should let you go for someone who would really appreciate you and love you the way you deserve. It's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. It's another avoidance. It's just another form of, I think I need to get out of this, but you put a magical illumination to it, make it sound beautiful, because they say that in the movies too. I need to let you go for someone who's going to really love you. And it's just because you're so special. I want to make sure that somebody loves you. It's hogwash. Blah, 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 blah. You're afraid, you're avoidance, you're an obsession. And it's okay, because there's millions of people just like you in the same battle. Mark, you don't know the battle. Yes, just like you. Just like you. Yeah, but Mark, you don't know the... And so, anyway, so those are the areas that I think are important to be aware of as I get into this, because I want to exhort you all before I dive into your questions. And I would like to, Melissa, ask you before I get into the questions, is there anything in the chat that
no, boo,
that you feel but you'll keep an eye on it while you're here?
I definitely will. Of course I will.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm here for you.
And then I know you got to go soon, but it's good having you here.
Thanks, babe.
By my side. So, all right, let's dig into this stack O questions. This first one I'm going to title, I'm missing my ex, but he's not tall enough. That's what we're going to call this one. About a month ago, I realized I've been dealing with ROCD for probably the past 2 years and maybe longer. Okay, so you found this out a month ago. You need to buckle up because you got a journey ahead of you. Many are coming in realizing, okay, this is what I've been battling. Thank you, Mark. You put language to what I'm struggling with. You got a journey ahead of you now. So this isn't something you're going to fix overnight. Your insight and wisdom has been incredibly helpful, and I wanted to thank you for that. I've watched almost all of your videos on OCD, and I've read a couple of your books, including the OCD Healing Journey. They have been so helpful and have also raised questions as I've been navigating my journey, and I've been learning to experience God's love. I'll give a little backstory, and then I'll have some questions. I dated a guy for 10 months. I tried to push through the fear and anxiety and told him I was ready to get engaged. But when I got engaged, I panicked. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens with this battleground. Once a new threshold of increasing proximity happens, the alarm bells go off. I panicked because I felt anxiety and I thought that, do I have it here? I think I do. Wait, hold on a second.
It was the Lord.
There we go. I had to find had the button moved over there. Oh, now I lost my place. And that was a little, and telling me that it was a mistake. Now I know, because if you're inside, this is ROCD. Yeah, a lot of Christian ROCDers relate to a God like Santa Claus. He's looking over your shoulder, he's making a list, checking it twice. And he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. And this is what God, this is, if you follow the pathway of relationship OCDers and their relationship with God, this is how God works, okay? This is what he does. He watches you, you like somebody, and he's like, yep. You start dating, he goes, yep. Then all of a sudden you start talking marriage and he's like,
Wait, hold on, stop, this is not my will.
That's the God you relate to.
That's good.
It's like this very, like, he's just not involved at all. And then when you make a step, all of a sudden he's saying, no. Like he just lost control. And he was like, wait, I was trying to tell you. And then I forgot. And
The Santa Claus is so hysterical. I'm sorry.
well, it fits. He sees you when you're sleeping. It's a little creepy. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. It's like he loves you. He knows you, but you better be good because you better have. Anyway. And so apparently God has panic attacks once a relationship starts moving forward, and he starts sending you alarm bells. You see how this, if we took this way of relating to God, no one would make a decision. No one would open a business. No one would start a church. No one would get married. No one would do anything, because we would associate these alarm bells with God. Every time you make a decision to step into something new, fear meets you at the door. Every time. Start a new job, move to a new place, make a new friend, become a new parent, have another kid, buy something. I remember when I stood in Radio Shack. It doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. I stood in Radio Shack and I was spinning over buying my first cell phone and committing to a contract. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where it goes. And when I bought the cell phone and signed the contract, I was wondering if I had disobeyed God. Okay? This is where the stuff can take you. Anyways, I got a lot of room here to go, so I need to buckle up. So within 24 hours, I took the ring off. We continued to date for another 10 months. Okay, so you were going forward, and then you're already dating for 10 months. You got engaged. The obsession, the fear rose to the surface, and you brought back. So now we're unengaged. Is that a term? Unengaged, and you continue to date for 10 months. Okay, so what happens? What you all need to understand is when you feed the fear, the topic doesn't grow. The fear grows, and so I had a compulsive like breakup thing, or over talk, or just get reassurance seeking. All that does is give the obsession more power. So you have to recognize that if you're in this pattern of breakup, get together, breakup, and you do that, it's empowering this, making it just scarier. That's all it is. It's just fear, and fear is a bunch of smoke and mirrors. But the more you feed compulsive patterns, the more it galvanizes it, if I could use that word, kind of brings it together to try to strengthen it. It can be undone, but you just have to recognize your window is working through the fear that increases all the distortions. So we continued dating for 10 months because I thought I needed more time. We do that like, no, I need some time with myself to work on things. So again, it's like I'm working on running in a marathon. You are, Mark? Yeah. So when you run, I'm not running yet. I'm getting myself ready to run in the marathon. I'm getting ready to run in the marathon. So we do with it. I know I need some time to myself. That's a worldly concept. I need to be alone. I need to be by myself to work on myself. And it's a lot of avoidance. No, we work through in our relationship world. That's how we grow. So anyway, we didn't talk for 3 months. We eventually decided to break up because I wasn't getting any closer to being ready to commit. We didn't talk for 3 months, and I was fine. And it is common that OCDers, they break up, they feel relief because they're not in that turmoil of anxiety. I realize now that I was fine because there was no pressure on me to make a decision about marriage. Right. So that I'm fine and relief is a myth. It's avoidance. And you go, oh, I feel better. So then it tells you I made the right decision. See how we keep kind of following this pattern? 3 months after we broke up, he tried to move on, and I went into the worst mental state I've ever been in. Yes. I was paralyzed with fear that I lost a really amazing guy. Now that is something to sober us. Okay. The way I assess the relationship is off. We'll see if it did here. But at the same time, I couldn't get myself to actually commit to him in marriage. After some time, he realized he didn't want to move on with her and that he missed me. So now you both got some back and forth. And now we have now been on and off and talking for the last 6 months. I find it hard to let him go because of how great we are together. But I also fixate on his flaws. For example, the biggest flaw that pops into my head is that he's 5'10" and I'm 5'8", and I'd always thought I'd marry a big, tall man. Well, 5'10" is, 5'10" isn't that the average man is 5'10", something like that?
No, I don't know.
What do you want?
Google that.
What do you want? 6'10"? You want to be like, you want to be looking up at a basketball player? And I always thought I'd marry a big tall.
Wow.
What's that?
The average man is 5'6". That's how tall I am.
All right.
That's short. 5'6"? No, I would think 5'10". I think you're right. Like 5'8" to 5'10", maybe.
But the Google's telling you 5.
That's what the Goog is saying.
So we actually found out your man's tall.
He is tall.
Survey says, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because OCD.
Then
OCD
below
is
it is a link that says 5'9". So I don't know.
All right.
Whatever.
We'll find in between 5'8" and a quarter. Okay. So I know this is silly. Well, all OCD is silly. It is. All OCD
is very, very silly. Very silly.
So it's okay. But it's one of the main things that's keeping me from committing. I fear that I will never overcome this desire for someone taller. So that's, now you're taking this distortion and you're saying, we are going to be together forever. I'll never be able to break up with this distortion of fussing over his height. You have a just right, but never enough thing going on. You have perfectionism. And that's all it is. Perfectionism is always checking for flaws, checking for things that you're evaluating so that you can feel better. So you examine your boyfriend rather than learn to discover in a process, in a journey. You're fixating on flaws to make yourself feel better. So I'm going to tell you something I guarantee. I'm not a gambler, but if I was, I would bet top dollar. I would drain a savings account, betting money on you that if you fixed this 5'10" issue, you would find another one. And I would be a millionaire, multimillionaire, because I would just keep rolling it every time. And what's the saying in the casino that you're just doing amazing? Is there a term? What's the term for that? Missy's like, you're looking at me like
I don't know. I'm
like
not a casino person. If I was to go in, I'd probably just play the slots for hours. So I don't know.
Whatever it means, I'll be.
You're on a roll.
On a roll, sure, okay.
There you go.
So, you said you fear you're never, and classic. That's OCD. I'm always gonna have this fear. I always have in the back of my head that I could just go date someone taller. Yeah, you could always date someone taller. You could even date someone better looking. You could date someone who makes better money. You could date someone who, there's a lot of things you could do. Yeah. Yeah, of course. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about you chasing a bunch of things for the rest of your life. This is about you having a fulfilling marriage relationship. And like I said, in Hollywood, it's just right. You got the most beautiful and handsome people on the planet. They can't keep a marriage for a year because they have all kinds of distortions. And the common thing that they do when they break up, of course, they're all cheating on each other. They're all whatever. Common thing is just, just incompatibility. We just weren't compatible. And no one writes in there, you know what, we were two very immature people that didn't know how to love, and we have a lot of growing to do. That should be the honest answer in the Hollywood divorce paperwork, and in many people's paperwork. So I know this is not unconditional love, but when does having a certain type of attraction play into me making a marriage decision? Well, you're definitely in the world of distortion. And your issue and your journey is going to learn to embrace your own weaknesses and imperfections, because OCDers spend all of their time looking outside of themselves at flaws, and they become blocked to the reality they have tons of flaws, and we're fixated on that. But learning to embrace yourself and your imperfections, because that's what breaking through perfectionism is actually learning to embrace weaknesses, flaws, learning to embrace that we're not perfect, learning to embrace imperfections. That's what learning to love is in the journey, which then will also help you to learn how to embrace and be more lovingly accepting of other people's flaws and goofiness as you relate to them and learn to love them. I feel unattracted to him when I wear heels and am taller than him, or even if he slouches and I'm taller than him. So here's your homework. Part of your exposure therapy is go out with him, have him dress nice, you dress nice, wear heels, and do that. That's your exposure therapy. Go through and you feel that weird feeling, but you don't feed it. You don't ruminate over it. You don't fuss over it, because you're learning to redirect your attention to what matters, and that's growing in actual relationship connection. You continue. I tried to go on a date with somebody else, but after I felt like I missed my ex terribly, and that this guy didn't compare to how how this guy made me feel. I quickly got out of it, explained to the other guy I still had feelings for my ex. So now you're bouncing. Now you're going here and there, and this is going to add to your double-mindedness. You're at this point, you're triple-minded. So you may end up becoming quintuple minded. There's a lot of minds that it's going to start building up here. He was kind of understanding, which made me second guess letting him go and not trying. I now see this trend of relationship OCD. When I couldn't stop thinking about the other guy after a week of being convinced I still love my ex. So we think if I can't stop thinking about it, that means I love them. If I can't stop thinking about it, it means I love them. We create these meanings. That's when I knew the issue was me. I discovered ROCD and your resources. Praise God. Is Levi bouncing? Yeah. Bye, Levi. Okay. But now my question is, after realizing I'm in the long haul for this healing journey, I don't know if I should commit to my ex and learn to not feed fear, or if I should continue healing on my own and decide to date someone else. Of course, my brain goes to finding someone else who is taller so that I wouldn't have to fixate on that. Yeah, and then there'd be another flaw, and you'd fixate on that. So here's the thing. No one's going to tell you what to do. God's not going to tell you what to do. He's not a puppet master. He's not hovering over you, telling you, you got to do this, 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 and this. Now, many of you treat him that way, that he is just ordering you left and right. And people around you can't make this decision for you. You have to make this decision. So my answer to you will frustrate you a bit, because I'm not going to tell you what to do with this relationship. What I am going to tell you is that you have distortions that will follow you into any relationship you have. So you do need to make a decision to work on it. And this email was a bit longer, but she had written 2 questions. And I said, you know what? Why don't I just address this email, because it kind of sums it up better. The fixation on a flaw is perfectionism. That's what that is. It is perfectionism, just right, but never enough. And it looks for those things to be fixed. So your compulsion may be over talking it to him, maybe breaking up with him because you can't get over it because you feel anxious, or you may tell him, I need you to wear lifts when we go out to eat. I was learning about lifts the other day. By the way, there's these. I'm
here. I'm sorry. I was going to respond to somebody.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Sorry to.
No, babe. Go ahead. You were researching lifts, or something came.
Yeah.
How is this happening?
Yeah.
Because you don't need them.
Yeah, no. It was somebody was talking about it. It was a TV show thing I was listening to, podcast. They were talking about shoe lifts, and they make shoes that have the lifts in them because there's so many guys who have insecurity about their height, and
that's a Hollywood thing too, isn't it? Doesn't like Tom Cruise and them wear them?
Yeah, Tom Cruise, I think.
He's got mad-ish.
Who's
wrong here?
Who's the famous one that does the gangster movies? De Niro. Yeah. That he wears, like, there's shots of like these thick, but they'll make it's not lifts, it's shoes that are built in with them where it looks like your foot is in it, but there's actually a lot of lift inside.
Okay, so you can't tell. Okay, so there's not a big heel. They've learned to make it so it's magical. So
yes, all to create this allure.
Ooh, okay.
Because they have to have the star, and Kiefer Sutherland. I think he's another one. He was in 24, and a lot of times they had to put him like on a little like soapbox thing or something.
Yeah, because the ladies are taller.
I just wanted to tell you that.
Okay.
So now you wrote in your question, I know he won't wait forever. And I think that's sobering. That's sobering to go, this person's not going to wait around forever while I'm like trying to figure out what I want to do. And I think that a lot of the questions that come in, there is the way that you describe your journey, you're looking for this thing you call love to pull on you and just take you into somewhere. And that's the way it's often described in romance and novels, is that this outside force pulled on you and you just followed it. And then they go, I just didn't feel it anymore. And then they make decisions to go in other directions. So it causes a lot of emotional immaturity. So anyways, I spent a little bit more time than usual on that, as I like to do, having some fun. This one says, this question says, I realize that most of the things you have mentioned in your codependency topic are true, and the prospect of me being the needy one. I'm in a relationship with this guy, and he does not act like the needed person. He supports me and listens to my problems, but he does not do anything which is manipulative, guilt-tripping, or narcissistic. Okay, this is good so far. Instead, when I realized that I needed to get my needs fulfilled by God and not in him, I don't believe in that metric, by the way. I need to get my needs fulfilled in God and not in people. I think we need to stop saying that. It's not true. Not true. We were made for human relationship. We were not made to live in chronic neediness, though. So we do need to learn how to relate to God and ourselves and others in more grounded ways through practice. But this is not just go to God. That's what, like, I heard that a lot in my parents' generation. You just go to God and just get this fulfilled in him.
That's a way of avoiding people too. I think we use that to avoid people. Not being hurt.
Yeah, I think we use it to avoid people. We don't have time for people.
Avoid ourselves too, because you get challenged in relationship.
Yep.
So when you're just like, oh, it's just me and God in the closet. No.
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah, and that perpetuates mental health problems too. So when I realized I need to get my needs fulfilled by God and not in him, he was fully supportive of it. Instead, he encourages me to go to God for these needs and not to him. Again, it's not that black and white kind of scenario. We do need relationships. We need to know how to talk about our needs in meaningful ways. Recognize neediness. Throttle it down. They're like, hey, I'm asking this person for too much. I'm asking them to be for something that is not healthy of me to ask them to be. And that's why I talk so much about the neediness issues. And that's the wrong slide. The rejection mindset, exposing the rejection mindset material is very, very helpful for that. And yes, we need to go to God, but it's not the way that it's often presented. My OCD is kicking in here that since I have become codependent on him for my needs, I need to break up. There we go. Here's how it works. I need to break up and first heal all these issues first. You even wrote first twice. I need to first heal all these issues first before I pursue a relationship. This is a distortion that we believe. That I am going to fly a plane. Here I am. I'm going to learn how to fly a plane, and then I'm going to go fly a plane. No, you have to take lessons. And in life, you have to be in relationship to work on relationship. Sorry. We're all in avoidance. We're avoiding each other, aren't we? Because everyone is scary. People say, what's the most scariest thing in the world? People. People are frightening because they represent potentially doing what happened to you in the past. They potentially represent your greatest fears. But in it is where God says, this is where you're going to learn like never before how to love, learn from your healing, learn from your woundedness. And so you're focused on breaking up. It's another form of avoidance. So let me get into...
Can I just read a super chat?
Yeah. That's great.
Please, sir. This is from Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Mark. Would you be willing to do a video on biblical masculinity? I see a big attack on men, fatherhood, devaluing the state of men. I see the agenda to soften the men of the world.
Yes. It's the shortest answer I've ever given. Yeah. I think if you name the topic, my answer would probably be yes, unless I've already done it. I have a long list of a lot of things, and I try to kind of focus. I do have topic ADD, if you could call it that, in the sense of like I have to work at just keeping myself focused because I can only deal with so many things at the same time.
Right.
But I have, in my files, I did spend some time years ago documenting my journey of what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a husband that leads? What does it mean to live in masculinity? And
Yep.
what does that look like? And so, yeah, it's needed, especially because of the tides that are going on, and it's happening. It's happening rapidly. So I chalk it up to one of those log will in the creek don't rise.
Right.
So you never know. You never know though with MD, because
That's true. You could pivot.
Sometimes I go like this safe relationship series I did. It was sitting there in the burner, in the back burner, and it all just, and I wasn't necessarily planning on it, but then it just happened. So topics like that can kind of jump in. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the super chat.
This is kind of down the lines of, you know what, let me put that one in the back burner because I kind of addressed that. This one, I'll address this one. My girlfriend's overweight, and what do I do? Basically, how do I deal with this? I first want to thank you for all that you do and tell you that you've helped me in my journey more than you can know. I struggle sending this because of my compulsions and reassurance and comfort seeking from others, and I don't know if that's what I'm doing right now, but I really wanted to send this anyways. My girlfriend and I have been together for 1 month and 2 weeks, but we were close friends for about 4 months before we started dating, which I think is great because then it helps to develop a friendship, develop just baseline communication, and it can be great if it starts off at that friendship level. The reason we took 4 months to start dating was because, honestly, I didn't find her physically attractive for me personally for reasons I will get into. I'm sure you will. But we were very, very close, and I loved and still do love who she is as a person. She's a woman of God who even understands my OCD struggles. After I told her, I get thoughts of what if I don't actually like her, and even though this is scary for her, she chooses me despite it. She's great, but I still find myself struggling with physical attraction. She's a very pretty, even beautiful girl. It is interesting how a lot of these questions talk out of two sides of the mouth.
Right.
Isn't that, am I saying the saying right? You talk out of two sides of your
Correct.
mouth means it's like,
Yes. Like she's so pretty, but she's a little chunky.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, I love this man. He's one of the greatest men I've ever met, but I'm not sure he's a good spiritual leader. It's like,
Right.
wait, you said he's a man of God and but I'm not sure. So there is a, just every question has that in it, which is just shows the nature of this battleground. And okay, she's a pretty beautiful girl, and I feel so much guilt and shame. I feel like a bad person for this. She's overweight, and I've always dated and been drawn to skinnier girls. I'm struggling badly right now with obsessing over physical appearance. It's driving me into scared anxiety, feeling like I'm going to break up with her or that I need to break up with her. And when I'm with her these past few days, my mind obsesses on the physical aspect of things. Whew, that was a long sentence. She's great, and I love her. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's great, and I love her, but she's not Giselle Bundchen.
Bingen. My God.
I don't know how to. Bungin.
I don't, babe. Just say B.
You don't even know how to say it.
Oh goodness.
And so you'll first of all you have the influence of perfectionism happening here. Okay, that's what it's doing. This kind of just right analysis. We do have to. There's this sense of journey of what do you really want in a marriage? Do you want a girl that just looks hot all the time? Then you're gonna have to.
Hot girls put weight on too. Sometimes they have babies and
right.
they go through phases and periods of.
Right.
I know. Whoops. I am not good at this today. It's like I'm lounging with my sweatshirt.
This is you. You're like,
This is
yes,
like
yes.
your worst nightmare right now. It's true.
Why just leave the mic there?
Well, because I'm like typing,
Oh,
I'm drinking
I
my
got-
tea. I didn't want it to echo in the mic.
I got you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
Listen, everyone goes through this.
yeah, but I think that if your metric is going to put a lot of energy towards how the person looks,
Right.
you are setting yourself up for fussing over the wrong things. You're gonna end up becoming controlling because you're gonna need her to look a certain way.
What I think too is like, bro, do you not think you have something that maybe she's like, I don't know, he's got a snaggle tooth, one of his eyebrows is, how do we know?
Right.
Is he perfect?
Right. How does
saying.
How do his toes look in sandals?
My sister probably won't care that I share this. She broke up with somebody because she did not like his feet in sandals. She will laugh about that, but that is true.
Your family's like, thanks a lot for
I know my sister's
throwing us
Thank
throwing
you.
us under the
It was
bus.
a long time ago. So.
Okay. Let me try to stay mature.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, but anyways, this is the place you get to. What do you want? Someone that you love, and yes, she's great looking. Okay, she's got some weight issues. What about you and your appearances and your things? Sometimes this journey brings us back to what do we really want? Because there was a time in my life where a couple guys told me, if you stay on this pattern, you're going to be 65 and alone. Hurt my feelings. I was mad, defensive. Then when the dust settled, I went, you know what? They're right. The way that I go about relationships, the way I see things needs an overhaul. And so I say this to all of us, that in your journey, you have to come to this point in time where you go, okay, I gotta work on how I see things. And then you start to go, what is it that I really want? And what I want is a fulfilling, loving, growing, maturing relationship. And if I'm focused on all these distortions and metrics, I'm not going to experience that. So my exhortation to you is you're gonna have to deal with this no matter it's gonna come up in other areas. But I'll go ahead and read. I'm struggling badly right now with obsessing over physical appearance. It's driving me into scared anxiety. Oh, I already read that. She's great and I love her and she loves me so much and I really don't want to break up. Then don't. but I think this obsession makes me feel like I do or need to. I would appreciate insight in the situation. My compulsions are ruminating, comparison, seeking reassurance, and researching. I've been starving those during this as best I can, but I don't know how to feel better. Your goal is not to feel better right now. That's not the goal. The goal is to grow through this. It's going to have some rough, anxious moments along the way. Don't let the goal just be, I just got to feel better. I got to feel better, because it's going to make you try to take shortcuts in your journey. You're going to work through. And your exposure therapy is being around her and like, oh, okay, I see that flaw. And you don't feed it, you don't ruminate, and you gently redirect yourself back to just growing and letting the relationship take the steps it needs to take. You make your decisions from a different standpoint than just following all those ups and downs. Hi, Mark. I'm new to your content. I've been using your older videos on ROCD to help me to figure out if I fall into that category. I start therapy tomorrow to help me manage the anxiety and depression that I've been struggling with. I've been in a 5-year relationship. Okay, 5 years. That's a long time. What do you got to figure out? 5 years. 5 years. You probably know his life history inside and out. And since we've met, I've only been able to focus on and eventually obsess over why I can't connect for the last 6 months. But now the last 5 years, I've been battling with this lack of peace if I truly love him enough at all. The good thought and desire comes in waves, and the bad thought, anxiety, irritability, lack of connection stays in tsunamis. I feel so defeated. I just want to enjoy my life. I'm at a point where I've cried out to God to help me leave the relationship if that is truly the solution. Yeah, you're directing your energy in the wrong direction. You've just come to terms. You say you start therapy tomorrow, which you wrote this to me at the beginning of the month. So you're probably in therapy now. Hopefully you're recognizing what's been influencing this. And you say, I feel like there's an invisible wall that I can't penetrate. Yeah, that's how I described it. It's like a plexiglass wall on my chest, and I'm watching everybody live, but I'm having a hard time participating in it. And so in your numbness, in your disconnect, you start to look at it. It's the person. If I had a different person, then I would feel better about myself. Isn't that a common thing that we as humans fall into? What if I don't listen to God about my relationship? Hey, Mark, I've been with my boyfriend for almost 3 years, and we are headed into engagement. Congratulations, I think. This is something that scared me, but I tried to push myself to do it because I knew it was good and a good, God-loving relationship. However, I tend to struggle with this fear that because our dating relationship wasn't a perfect Christian dating story, what is a perfect Christian dating story? I would like to know what that is, so I could be educated on that. That I think it is not of God, even though now it is the best relationship I've ever had, and my boyfriend loves me like Christ does. A lot of times when people write that to me, I'm assuming this is where I kind of go, it's like, okay, did you sleep together or something? And that's what you're going, and so you're struggling with the shame of that. When we started, I'm not saying that that's just where my detector wonders when people say, our dating relationship hasn't been, the perfect one. When we started dating, I hesitated because he was not serious about the Lord, how I was. And what does that mean? I then cut the relationship off after our first date and explained why. He knew the Lord and believed in him, but was not living the Christian life out how I was. How did you evaluate that on the first date? Then about a month later, he reached out to me again saying he has been getting back into the church and it was something he wanted. I remember feeling unsure if I should continue the relationship, but I felt he had a great heart and wasn't given the materials growing up to fully understand God. As we first started to date, I never made him do or think anything about God. I more wanted to see what he wanted to learn or what he thought about his own without pressure. I was extra careful not to make him think certain things because I had previously been in a relationship where I was forced to think certain things. I remember having moments where we were not agreeing on important issues and I was falling into sin and thought we would have to break up. I continued to pray for him and for the Lord to change his heart, and he did. The Lord, beware about praying for people to try to change them. I know what you're saying. But it's like we get into these like kind of manipulative prayers and we want God to change somebody the way we want them to be. I know his love for the Lord is genuine, and he would even say he feels like a completely different person from the beginning of our relationship. But I still struggle with the what if I didn't listen to God and disobey him about being in this relationship. And so you're following a metric that says that God will tell you when you're dating, marry this person, and he will tell you, do not marry this person. That's your premise you're starting from. So therefore, if you feel anxious, that's God telling you that. So therefore, you're in disobedience. So you're going to need some teaching and relearning about what it means. Maybe even check out my disobedience confusion resource. This one's about what if I'm in a rebound? Mark, I'm new to your channel. Been watching your content like crazy because it's so awesome. Really grateful to have found your content at this time, especially with what I'm dealing with. I have been dating my current boyfriend for 6 months. Out of nowhere, suddenly, out of the sky, dropped in. Out of nowhere, I had a thought. What if I'm just rebounding? This came up before I started dating my current boyfriend. I had a crush on a guy who didn't reciprocate it back. He told me he wasn't interested. Even then, I really hoped we could be together, but nothing happened. That guy led me on and used me and my friends, told me to be careful, but I didn't listen. I started to see signs of how this guy wasn't worth it. But the feeling still lingered. A few weeks in, I met someone else. My current boyfriend, who I felt instant attraction for, and we connected on the go. I knew him previously and liked him before, and this time we were both in a good place to start dating. We soon started dating, and I'm really happy to be with him, and I realized what I'm worth while being with him. I also noticed my focus became my boyfriend, and the feelings for the other guy started to fade. I see a future with the current boyfriend and want to marry him as well. But I can't shake off this anxiety brought by the thought yelling at me, did I just rebound? I tried researching rebounds online. Did you get like pictures of basketball players when you did that? Am I rebounding? When you get pictures of Dennis Rodman or something like that, grabbing the ball off the backboard. Checking, and I just couldn't think straight. I'm worried and scared because I thought I really love my boyfriend. I feel like I really do, but now this doubt. Yeah, OCD is the doubting disease. This doubt is making me question everything. Could this be what you say is OCD? Yes. Hoping to receive your response, even though I'm not a member of the community yet. Well, I would encourage you, you're new to the channel, you're going to need to buckle up and walk a journey because you have some distortions going on. And this thought that maybe, what if you're rebounding? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. That's what you do with doubts.
I'm leaving, boo.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. All right, my love.
I love you.
I love you. I love you too. And I'll see you soon. Okay, so let me take a dance break, and I'll be right back. All right, y'all. I'll keep an eye on the comment section as best I can. And there was a I see. Kevin's. We addressed that there, and I'll flip back and forth between that and Rumble if there's any good questions that come up. I see a question there at the bottom. So, if you've only realized a month ago you're struggling with ROCD, should you continue learning about the Lord's love for you? I think everyone should learn about God's love for them always and never stop. And the symptoms of OCD for longer, and the symptoms, I don't know what that means, or step into the relationship as exposure. Is that what you're writing? Maybe that's what you're. Yeah, basically, ROCD is going to find 8,000 ways to tell you you're in the wrong relationship, get out. And you have this, but you have this conflict. You're like, but yet, it's like the person who's fussing over a girl being overweight. He's like, but I love her, and this dissonance that's going on. And so then we get into a black and white. I need to get out and work on myself. And I don't believe in that mindset of I need to get alone to get better. It's not how it works. Now, some of you don't have any time by yourself. You need some time of solitude. Yeah, of course. I need that. But I'm talking about, where disengaging from relationship to try to work on relationship doesn't happen. So anyway. And I see a question there about good counselor. I had that in my notes somewhere to address that question, because people who have ROCD, here's a recommendation I would give to that is if you're a Christian, and most people who are coming to this channel are Christians, don't get hung up if the OCD specialist you're working with is not a Christian. And in some ways that can be helpful, because if you meet with like a Christian counselor, sometimes you can drift a lot into the like God's will and is God speaking, and then there's a lot of like loops you're going into. Whereas ROCD, from just a clinical standpoint, they're gonna deal with the distortions and deal with changing how you relate. And of course, all of us would love to meet with somebody who understands OCD, who's a Christian, who shares our faith grid. And many people give me that feedback. Mark, I appreciate that so much. But don't let it discourage you if you find someone who doesn't share your faith grid or isn't a Christian but understands OCD. They're going to understand your distortions and encourage you to confront your fears and learn to not compulsively feed them and to leave all this uncertainty where it belongs, in the well, what if I marry them and what happens if we are miserable together? Okay, well, I'll deal with it then. You leave it in a maybe. You leave it in a, it's like, maybe, maybe not. And so that we don't feed that. And that increases anxiety at first. Whenever you do practices of dealing with OCD, and you said you just found it in the last month. So if I sat down with you and exposed all the fears, you'd hyperventilate. Oh my gosh. Right? So you often do them layer by layer. They call it hierarchy, where you develop a hierarchy. As we get overwhelmed. Now, I went cold turkey and was like, I'm going to face this. So it's like, the anxiety rose up in me. I'm tired of, I just got sick of it. I got sick of it. I got sick of being tormented. I got sick of not making steps of maturity. I got angry. And sometimes getting angry can be a good thing. And, but not being angry at myself, being angry that, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I keep following these patterns, and now I'm going to dedicate myself to learning. And I've been dedicated to that ever since. So, all right. I'll keep an eye out in the chat as the best I can. Super chats, especially, I'll keep an eye out for. And you can always use the webpage to submit your questions. Let me talk about lack of excitement. As many people that I interact with and talk to and work with, they go, I don't feel excited. The thought of getting married, I just don't have that, like, this is the most amazing thing ever, and I'm so super happy. And that is often there for a couple of reasons. I'll give those to you. I've been struggling with relationship OCD, which has significantly impacted my sense of connection in my relationship, and she names her boyfriend. While I know that I love him and appreciate the stability and growth we've had, we go again, right? It's the this is great, yeah, but I constantly find myself ruminating and comparing how connected I felt in my past relationship. Yeah, and so what happens is, when you're in this distortion, the past relationship starts to become increased fairy tales. So the bad in what you have gets increased. The bad you experienced before gets decreased. And the good you had in the last relationship increases. The good you have in this one decreases, right? You get distorted. Now you have this fairy tale thing about the past. It's a very, very common problem within this. I fear that I am not as in love as I used to be, which has made it difficult to feel content or at peace. Yeah, because you're checking to feel that just right feeling. Chasing your feelings, examining the feelings, looking at them. Do I love? Do I love? Do I love? I don't know. Do I love? Do I love? Do I love? And I believe the Lord is leading me to understand what love truly is. This journey is uncomfortable because it feels very different from what I've known in the past. That is a good statement. The uncertainty brings up fears that I will feel disconnected, bored, or like an imposter in my future life. So now you're projecting into the future with fear. And so fear is not your friend in projecting into the future. So it's creating this foreboding. For example, when I imagine us doing something as simple as deciding to have a barbecue, I don't feel excited by the idea. Okay, so this tells me something. It's your feelings of lack of excitement aren't just about the guy you're dating. It's probably in a lot of things. Many OCDers have an underlying depression, and they don't like that. They run from it. They hide from it. They're afraid of actually admitting they may have some depression. They kick it away. They shoot it away. So what they do is they perfectionistically live. They just keep striving, and they're anxiously in this thing, this cycle. And then when they stop and pause, they realize that their overall state is depressed. They're experiencing a lot of depression. So many go, oh, it's because I'm with the wrong person. I'm not truly in love with them. And they don't realize this lack of excitement's in a lot of areas. So just the idea of having a barbecue, it's like, you got that lack of motivation or lack of excitement, anhedonia, whatever you want to call it. So then this your interpreter. So with OCD, you have 7 distortions. And if you have OCD, you have all of them. You don't have some of them, you have all of them. And they operate all together, all at the same time, which is why it's so stressful, because that's a lot flying at you. So number 3, distorted meaning of your thoughts. So you have a distorted interpreter. You don't feel excited about having a barbecue. This means I don't love my boyfriend. Right? You create those equations. Remember, all roads of relationship OCD lead back to I'm with the wrong person. I'm filled with anxiety, worry, and my lack of excitement means I truly don't love him. These fears are amplified by the fact that we've been celibate for most of our relationship, with a few exceptions. We met in 2018 at work. It's been a really long journey to where we are now. Yeah, you're together for 6 years. Time to make a decision. Ladies and gentlemen, we want marriage. But my ROCD and nitpicking and double-mindedness has wreaked havoc, which has added another layer of emotional complexity. And so you're being in a relationship for 6 years, you're feeding this depression, because relationships are meant to move forward. When you stay in this non-committal, non-taking steps forward, non-kind of world, it's going to magnify that sense of, right? We were meant to grow in relationships, right? It's like we were meant to have productive work. It's like somebody who's looking for a job, but they're depressed, right? And they're looking for a job, and then they don't find a job, and it's what's going to happen to depression? It may want to increase, right? Because it's just the sense, we need a sense of movement in our lives. In a lot of my mental health work, it's like helping people to have slow and steady movement in their journey, because we get stuck for a variety of reasons. And many relationship OCDers are stuck in indecisiveness. They are stuck in indecisiveness. So it causes the doldrum, low emotions, lack of excitement to increase. These fears, I read that already. My goal is to learn how to differentiate between unhealthy obsession and genuine love. Well, love is not obsession. And to find peace in my relationship without letting my anxieties dictate the feelings of the future. You're going to have to learn how to walk through anxiety, not away from it. Because OCDers give in to the, with OCD, fear is like a terrorist. And it brings demands to you. And typically, with our compulsions, what we do is we avoid facing the fear. We avoid feeling triggered. We avoid that feeling. So we comply to the terrorists. Once you comply with a terrorist, you now make him stronger. You get what I'm saying? Because the thing about terrorism, I use that in my book, I Will Not Fear. And the reason fear is a terrorist, and 1 John 4:18 talks about fear being a terrorist. It has torment. And I talk about how fear is a terrorist because when you feed it and obey its demands, it now increases its power. Because terrorism has more power of the potential of something happening more than it actually happening. You follow what I'm saying there? That's the power it has. Intimidation. It's more than it's not what could happen. It's the fear of it that manipulates people. And our whole world is run by fear in a lot of ways. So this question here is distortions about being unequally yoked, which is a common one, a common Christian distortion that's in our OCD. Is you're nitpicking over whether or not you're compatible, and you're looking at are we equally yoked means to you, do we agree on every single little thing? Do we do things the same way? And many in their perfectionism, I serve God and I give all in. I do my devotions every day and pray every day and I read books every day. And I look over and she's not doing this the same way I'm doing it. And that doesn't mean that her way of doing it is wrong. It's a different person. And anyway, I'll get into the question here. Hey, Mark, first of all, I want to say thank you for your work, especially on relationship OCD. It's truly opened my eyes to the failures of my previous relationships, as well as how much in general OCD controls my life. Well, let's not look at it as failures. Let's look at it as learning, shall we? Look at it all as learning. Because if it's just failure, there's no learning. Anyway, you've given me a huge boost into reclaiming my life and bolstering my relationship with God. My question is about entering a relationship and choosing that person based on mostly the single fact of whether or not they believe in Jesus and accept him in their heart and are inherently guided by the Holy Spirit. This sounds like quite a list there. For a few relationships, I have eventually ended them due to this reason, as it's ingrained in me at this point. Thou should not be unequally yoked has become the strongest compulsion on top of their physical attraction. At least you're honest. It's like, we must be equally yoked before God. Our passions must be aligned. We must read the Word of God the same way and have the Holy Spirit within us. And you got to be hot. I will then, of course, in the nature of having OCD, sometimes regret the decision and try to win them back months later. Yes, which that was a pattern I fell into. Break up, feel better, relief, but that's just temporary. Compulsions give a temporary sense of relief, and go, oh, I miss her. Then I go back, but it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that committal thing. If I commit, so I kind of just stay in this nebulous, non-committal land. It's a form of avoidance. And then it makes the boogeyman's power, the terrorist power, get bigger. It's fear increasing. Currently, my latest dilemma involves someone I find very attractive, and they believe in God and pray every night, but they do not know Jesus and have never read the Bible with no intention to. Very confusing. Okay. Yeah, it sounds confusing. Okay. So you met someone who they got it going on in attractiveness, but you're like, what's going on here? So you don't know the person. So you're at the early stages. My compulsion towards them potentially not being a true Christian has blocked me nearly entirely from continuing forth, despite their attraction and connecting with in many other aspects. Is this simply a compulsion out of need of perfectionism and legalism? Yeah. It's compulsive. It's not giving you room to just get to know a person. You're fixated on, does this person really know Jesus? But you're like looking at it in this intense way. It doesn't seem like you've had a chance to just get to know the person before we could look at anything else. What if I don't love him or I'm lying to him? Say a sister wrote here, hi Mark, I've been following your channel since the summer when I began to discover more about ROCD and relationship anxiety. I'm not sure if I have or had that. But I had an amazing godly relationship earlier this year. For some reason, as soon as the relationship began, my body saw my boyfriend as a threat. It's interesting how people word things. My body, as though it's like your body's like separate out from you. My body saw my, I don't know why, just the wording sucks. My body saw my boyfriend as a threat, and intense anxiety sprang up, along with thoughts that I didn't love him, I'm lying to him, and intense breakup urges. Yeah, you're debating whether or not you've got the O and the C and the D. It's happening, sister. I prayed and fasted for God to help me feel his peace. I went to deliverance services to break off things. Yeah, and that didn't do it. I know that didn't. And I could have this dream relationship, and nothing changed over the course of 8 months. Yes, because deliverance is focusing on the wrong things anyways. I talk about that over and over again. With OCD, it's common people chase the content of your thoughts. So I had a sexual urge to do this thing that's inappropriate. Oh, we got to cast a lust demon out. No, it's not about a lust demon, a sex demon. It's about perfectionism. It's about the pressure to get doubt and uncertainty resolved. It's about control issues. It's about fear. It's about guilt. It's about that stuff. So when you go to deliverance, they will chase the content of your thoughts. And you're exhausted because you leave out of there and going, I still feel. So anyway, this is the first time this has happened to me, and my life felt distorted. My joy disappeared. My work began to get affected. My health was going down. Yep, same here. Happened to me. You started losing weight, had multiple trips to the ER, medications, and panic attacks. Yep. Finally, I made the decision to end the relationship due to anxiety, but I'm regretting it and wonder if I ever get him or another wonderful relationship again. Any advice for breakup regret tips to stay hopeful for the future? Yeah, you had an obsession, you fed a compulsion to break up, and now you're missing him. So you have the influence of OCD, and you'll need some work in those areas. Hold on, I got to sneeze. Let me take a quick break so I can get this sneeze out, and then I'll come back.
And I just rap back and say, under the blood, me say me under the blood. Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Jesus cover me under the blood. Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Jesus, you be cover me under the blood. In the morning when me wake up, and the blood that Jesus me take up. And when me feel like me, I go break up. Put the blood on me face just like a makeup. In the morning when me wake up, and the blood that Jesus me take up. And when me feel like me heart break up, put the blood on me face just like a makeup. Under the blood, under the blood, Jesus cover me. Jesus, you will cover me. Say under the blood, under the blood, Jesus, you will cover me. Jump on this. Listen. Christian a fight some things where them not see. Try hold demons and principality. My body at the temple, keep it holy, sanctified, justify, give God the glory. Fighting against three terrible enemy. The world, Satan, and myself against me. Want the anointing, pour it on me. And make me trample the devil on it. Say, under the blood. Under the blood. Jesus, cover me. No.
Want to hear
Want
it?
to hear it?
Want to hear it?
Drum and bass. Drum
Oh,
and
I love
bass.
that. Never gets old. Never gets old. Thank you. Sometimes I got itchy nose and sneezing. Your brother from another mother every time in here. It's interesting too, because sometimes what will happen is I'll turn on the light, and I have my bouts with allergies. But you ever have this? You turn on lights, and it makes you want to sneeze. So I'll start a video, and it's like, anyway. I have. Here's what I'm going to do. I've got 3 more, and I'm going to go through the 3 more. I'm going to do it, and then we're done. And I'll check the super chats, and this will close up number 5. Gave a lot of exhortation here. You're going to get a good 2 hours and some change of content for your journey. So this one I'm going to get into is, I'm afraid I'm codependent. I have attachment issues, kind of similar to some other ones, but I'll go through and see if I can find some more observations to help the community at large. Hello, Mark. I'm a 28-year-old woman. By the way, I think it was about 27, 28. Yeah, I think it was that I went, okay, I got issues. I need help. I was brought up in a household where my father was an alcoholic. I'm sorry to hear that. Not anymore. And my mom passed away when I was 6 years old. That's a rough setup right there. I'm so sorry. That's a tough setup for your development. The family was very strict and performance-driven in studies. My dad remarried, and my relationship with my stepmom is kind of dysfunctional, that we hardly communicate now. Wow. I'm dating a godly man, kind, loving, and good, who is from a very normal family. As I started to date him with all my family dysfunction, my OCD, religious guilt, punishment-based relationship with God, health OCD, etc., I have almost like all the OCDs. I tend to seek reassurance from him if I should be guilty over something I said to someone, the tendency to break up when physical boundaries are crossed, etc. Yeah, a lot of people dating with ROCD, like if they go too far physically, they feel shame of it. And instead of like working on that, getting some accountability and help work through that, they go, oh, this means we should break up. That's another thing that happens. My heart really goes out to you because as I listen to your setup, it's showing me, I can read it already, the brokenness, neglect, first of all, under alcoholism, even though your dad doesn't drink anymore, that addict alcoholism, I talk a lot about that. Sorry, my lights get all goofy. I don't know, my exposure is like acting weird. Maybe if I just sit here. It's like the glory of God hits me. Maybe it's when I move forward. Is that what happens? It didn't repeat. Maybe a demon moved from my mixer, which it's not acting up today, to my lights, to my camera. Nope. It's about to do it. It's about to do it. Glory of God. No. Now I forgot what I was saying. So listening to the setup, raised alcoholic dad, which there's so much in that. A mom who wasn't there for you, literally wasn't there for you. You're gone at 6 years old. So there's no development of nurture. There's none of that. It's common that many in that neglect, that lack of attachment, that lack of connection, you try to survive with an obsessive-compulsive control. Because OCD is about control, right? It's one of the distortions. It's your way to maintain life. So if you come from this in your journey and you have OCD, this is what fuels it and feeds it. Survival. I got to do life on my own. So I got to keep things just right. And then you enter into a dating relationship and it's like every pain, everything you saw, everything you came from, you don't want to experience that at all. So it would definitely spike anxiousness. All right, let me go back. So you look for reassurance from your boyfriend. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. I also share with him family problems which I couldn't bear as I needed support and distraction from overthinking that everything was my fault. Yeah, you have a toxic guilt that you struggle with. My dad would often get sick and I would think that God is punishing me, right? Another distortion. So I've been overcoming thanks to your videos. Recently, I've fallen into overthinking and developing so much anxiety when I came across your video of codependency. The fear that if I am in a codependent relationship, or is this just an anxious attachment style? Yeah, you could be codependent and you could be anxious in your attachment style. Yeah, you're afraid of it. So I want to encourage you to work through not being afraid of it, of accepting I might be codependent. We all have codependency issues to some extent. We all have neediness. We all have attachment issues we got to work through. So we got to first not let the fear of it haunt us, because then we can't actually work through things if we're just afraid of it and feeding the fear. And attachment style with my boyfriend because of sharing my problems and seeking reassurance when I'm doubting everything. He says he doesn't understand and thinks that my questions on OCD are silly and I shouldn't distract myself with these thoughts. My problems include insecurity so that I might not find someone like him if he leaves me. He's so accepting of me. So I'm quite scared of losing him. This leads to seeking reassurance if his feelings towards me are all good, if he's not mad at me or anything. I'm also anxious when he has some shortcomings, so I often tell him to work on it because I take it as a sign that he's not the one. So you kind of go back and forth between, oh my goodness, he's going to leave me. And so you kind of, it sounds like a combination of anxious avoidant, which I find most OCDers are anxious avoidant. I talked about that in my attachment video. You can go check that out. So it's like my dog. I don't mean to compare you to my dog. I'm not saying you're a dog. I'm just illustrating this. Our dog Levi. I'll come in the house. He comes running up to me, tail wagging, comes running after me. I reach down to pet him, and he goes. It's like, wait, what do you want, bro? It's a cute way of showing the anxious avoidant. I want it. I need you. Oh, I don't. I need you. Hold on. Hey. I don't know why I thought of that. It's like some I think that's some song on the radio. So you're scared of losing him, but yet you also go into maybe nitpicking him. So far, what I recommend, you gotta, there's a lot of like recovery kind of stuff that you'll need to work through, but you'll need to starve your compulsion to seek reassurance that things are okay. Are you mad at me? Are you okay? I've had a bit of that in my life. And that feeling goes all the way back to my childhood of like not feeling like things were okay and not getting that assurance that things are okay. And so I would seek that out. And I would need to check in relationships. And I had to starve it. And go, if it's not okay, then I'll face it. And if that person doesn't like me, if that person's mad at me, then I have to face it. And boy, it brings up just a flood of anxious feelings. But it's like, I got to work through this. Also thinking of breaking up hurts so much because he's done nothing wrong. At the same time, I feel that the hurt, loneliness, and hopelessness I would feel from breaking up. So, yeah, I think I've given you the feedback that I need to give you. Is this codependency? Is it attachment issues? Yes, but it's really, it's what OCD looks like. So I recommend all, materials on that. That's my feedback there. Hey, Pastor Mark, my question is about dating a new believer. I saw some of your videos recently where people have shared stories of ROCD with people who they are dating, are the godliest men and the most amazing. I think my boyfriend's amazing too, but he's a very curious person, and curiosity took him down the road of atheism. Instead, when he got to the depths of religion, I'm not sure I know what that means. He didn't follow Christianity or believe in God for a while in his life. The light, the glory of God. It's my camera. My camera is getting lazy. Camera? Now it's messing up my my trail of thought here. He didn't follow Christianity or believe in God for a while. Then he got saved a couple years ago, but was not actively practicing it and still transitioning from that old phase, so he's still baby in his faith. After I came into his life 8 months ago, he has come to practicing and taking proper initiative in his faith. He knows how much spiritual life means to me, and I'm proud of him for attending church regularly now and taking steps towards praying more often than he used to. He's still growing in his faith and is open to my suggestions on how to improve his spiritual life with Jesus. I don't force him as much as I want to, and I know it's not right and don't want to hinder his journey. He does believe that prayer is the foundation of healthy marriage and wants to have a healthy one with me. I do want to marry him, and we both have been considering marriage and having these conversations with our families too. But I have doubts about him being right for me and God wanting me to be in this just because he's a new believer, still baby in the faith. Sometimes the thoughts in my head are about him being a spiritual leader or maybe I should still stop. There's a couple typos here I'm trying to work through. And growing his faith. How do I know this isn't genuine and it's an OCD issue? I covered is this OCD? Is this something else? So make sure you check that out. I say if you're considering going into marriage, why don't you just do some counseling? Do some premarital counseling. Sit down and say, hey, we're looking at getting married and we just like some relationship feedback and some help in that. And then recognize, hey, I have some obsessive tendencies that I get into and some anxiousness that I struggle with. Now, premarital counselors may not be OCD equipped, and that's okay. But they can help just talking through a little bit of the journey, maybe giving some helpful feedback in that. One last one here. Hello, I found your podcast on Spotify in a desperate search for help in my relationship. Was it 2, 3 in the morning? Because that's often when those kind of visits to my channel happen. I've already been blessed and helped by your videos and seeking ways to put it into practice what I've been learning. I've really struggled with scrupulosity in the past, starting in 2020 after a very difficult and painful relationship and breakup. That's when I first started seeing these patterns of fear and obsessive thinking appear. Although in that instance, a breakup was the best thing for me, seeing that the man I was with was hiding secret sin habits from me and his entire community. I used to view the anxiety and fear I felt in that relationship as God telling me that something was off and to get out. Okay, so you're in this relationship. Now, I'm just going to go with what you're sharing, that you're not catastrophizing this, that there was some secret sin habits. Usually when people say that, it's something sexual. And it was hiding it from you and the entire community, meaning everybody that he was involved with. Okay, so probably became a big scandal or something. So you felt some anxiety in that relationship. So moving forward, here's the deal. That fear will tell you, hey, I was right about this one. You got to listen to me. You see, there were a lot of decisions I made out of fear. Out of fear. I listened to the fear. And like I remember when I was working at the church in East Hartford, I'd moved up where I was in charge of hiring people. And I was hiring musicians. We hired a youth pastor to take over because I used to be the youth pastor. I'd moved into a new position now. Now I was involved in that. And I remember we were hiring a guy. It was one of my first hires. We walked through the whole process. We sat down. We talked. We worked through it. We're like, this is a great decision. At the last minute, I pulled what I now know is an OCD move. I had this like, agita, all this stuff. The whole way through, it was like, and I was looking, having the conversations. I didn't realize this was like an OCD kind of move, an anxious, committal kind of thing. So I contact the executive pastor who I was under, we were working to hire this person. I said, you know what, I'm second thoughts, back out. I think we need to do something different. Because again, I was like, that impression is God. So we decided, he goes, all right. He goes, I'm going to trust you because which is awesome. They respected my opinion. All right. We'll make a different decision. We're going to go in a different direction. We ended up hiring somebody else. And the person that I denied showed months later was not a good fit. He ended up leaving the church. There was a bunch of stuff in there. Here's the thing though, is that like the fear, the obsessiveness goes, see? And I remember a friend of mine telling me, yeah, you got a good gut. Pay attention to your gut. And so what we do is, like, you might go up to there's been people where, you go, I have a feeling about this person, right? And just beware of following that as your guide. Because I kept listening to that. And really, I was anxious about being non-committal. And let's say the stuff that happened, the problems that came out of that guy, if we hired him and those problems came up, we would just deal with that then. And if we'd have to let him go, we'd let him go and go through it. Right? We're always avoiding, like, I don't want something to happen. I got to prevent anything bad from happening because we're so afraid of something happening because that's failure and failure is final. But then that voice became something I listened to constantly, and it would always do the same thing. You kind of move along, progress, nothing happening, nothing, and then at the last minute, the anxiety would skyrocket, and it would cause me to backpedal in the decision. So anyway, this last one I think is going to be a repeat, but I'll see if there's anything else I can find in here that I can add to it from what I've already said today. Hello, I found your podcast on Spotify in a desperate search for help in my relationship. I've already been blessed and helped by your videos and seeking ways to put into practice what I've been learning. Sorry, I was already in this. Yeah. Sorry. I thought I was in a new question. Thank you all for your patience. I'm just going to do a reboot. I was like, why does this question feel like I just read it? Because I did. Okay, let's go where we left off. But my point of the guy, I'm applying that here. Let me get, De Jesus back into focus. So that sense of like that fear of this guy had some issues. You were anxious, and now the fear is saying, "See, I was right. You got to listen to me now." That's the point I was making. So beware of that, because then we'll make fear our guide. Now, after many years of healing from scrupulosity, I'm almost 8 months into a relationship with a godly, wonderful, patient, and loving man. All right, sounds great. So let's wrap this up. But I, through these 8 months, have struggled with doubt, fear, uncertainty, and obsessively checking my feelings about him in the relationship. Yeah, you just listed all the stuff that OCD does. He's been a huge blessing to me in this, and he's patient with me as I'm working through a lot of fears and wrong beliefs. But now I'm afraid. What if it's not OCD, and I just don't like him, or I just don't want to be with him? That's how OCD talks, by the way. What if I heal my OCD and find out I don't want to be with him? That's another OCD thought. I'm afraid of just using him as a means for my healing and not being able or willing to follow through into marriage. Is this just more OCD thoughts? Yes. Yeah, and it's understandable because you have some, this past guy and there's stuff and fallout and you're trying to feel like you can land. It's okay. Take one step at a time. How do I tell the difference between genuinely not wanting a relationship and OCD? Well, when you have OCD, it's going to infect all of that. I feel a constant push and pull away towards him. Some days I want to spend my entire life with him. And the other days I'm angry and tired and want out. Yeah, sounds like the journey. I feel so sad and ashamed because he's really the best boyfriend I've ever had and one of my best friends. Then keep moving forward, keep growing, and let him know, hey, I've got this OCD thing. And there's some days I'm more anxious and I may not talk about it because I don't want to feed the reassurance, but I may, let you know, hey, I'm just a little anxious today, but I'm all right. And I want to keep growing. And I think that's a healthier place to be in, so we don't become reassurance seekers. You could say, I'm struggling, but I'm not pulling for an answer. I'm letting myself feel through the anxiety because I'm learning to let perfect love cast out fear. And 1 John 4:18 is my exhortation to all of us. There is no fear in love, because perfect love casts out fear. So our anxiousness reveals a need for perfect love, which comes from the Father, which we learn in how we relate to one another. I pray this was a blessing to y'all. If it was, please hit that like button, subscribe. If you want to go further than that and you'd like to support these broadcasts, you can go to markdesus.com, click on that donate button. You can send a one-time donation or a regular donation, or you can even mail one into, there's a mailing address you can utilize there too. But thank you for all those of you that were in the chat live, those of you that are going to be listening to this in a broadcast replay later. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. This is your brother from another mother saying I'll be back with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. But in the meantime, I'm out.